This is the concierge, sir.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and in today's episode, we're going to be going down a sexy path with a fan request. So I actually had a fan reach out to me on Instagram. We won't name you, just because I know that you didn't, maybe didn't want to be named in the tweet, or sorry, in the message. But you asked me, what are some like cool, sexy couple ideas for Las Vegas? And I have to tell you, this is kind of where I strive, because I think, sexy Vegas is essentially like elevated nice Vegas. So that's why I always, I think it's funny that I kind of put them in the same category. But this will be really fun. So I'm actually going to be going over some restaurants, some shows that if you're trying to have, a nice, romantic getaway, but, a little bit edgy, I want to explore that with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and give you some of my recommendations that I really like, some reasonings behind it, and hopefully you guys, find it interesting and fun, and help you have your sexy time in Las Vegas. So this is the sexy episode with me, Brian Ortega. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into it right away, guys. So let's start with the hotels, because hotels is important for setting the mood, if you will. So we won't get like graphic details or anything like that, but a couple of hotels that I find to be, that really set the mood in terms of, being romantic or, fun. Always recommend Cosmopolitan, just because of the fantastic, stellar views of the Las Vegas Strip. Whether you look north or south, you get views of the Strip looking either way. They also have balconies, which is really nice because you can go outside, relax, if you wake up in the morning. It used to be really cool back in the day, because back in the day for the Cosmo, before they were owned by MGM, even before, it's at the end, they didn't have these either, but they had these really cool Japanese style soaking tubs that had windows that looked out from the balcony out towards the Strip. And they also had even cooler, Vegas used to be a place. They had these windows that were open from the shower that looked into the bedroom, so you could watch your partner taking a shower if you wanted to. You did have the capability to actually close the blinds. They had like a blind that you can close and it would, fog up, or you couldn't see the person. But man, that was cool. So that was a really fun time. But I would say Cosmopolitan is a beautiful hotel. Same thing with like say the Wynn and the Venetian Palazzo. The reason I mention these places is because they have beautiful views. So like if you never wanted to leave the room, then you're getting beautiful views of either the Strip, if you're on the other side of the Palazzo or the Venetian, you can see the Sphere. But really, reason I mention these places is because of the fantastic views that they are allowed. If you're looking for a hotel that maybe isn't the Cosmopolitan, I would recommend the Paris Hotel, which is now combined with the Bally's property. It's not Bally's anymore. It's called, is it Binion's? Horseshoe. The Horseshoe. But what's funny is that the Paris took over one of the towers, and now they actually have balconies that look out towards the Bellagio fountains, which is really, really nice. Another really great spot would be if you go to MGM Grand and stay in one of the terrace suites. The terrace suites, really cool. Specifically for the terrace suites, which you have to call to make reservations. You have a special check-in, which is really nice, sort of a good mood setter for everybody. But the terrace suites only have one room. They only have like one bedroom, technically one bed, but they're like a duplex. So it's 2 floors. So you go in, it has stairs that go up, and then you can go and, sleep up there. But it also has the outdoor terrace area, which is quite large, which actually has like a nice little bed area that you can look out towards, the Strip, whether it's north or south. The ones that have jacuzzis, they only have in the They only have in the sky lofts, and there are only 2 of them. So that's either on either side, and sometimes they're not working. They used to all have jacuzzis, which is really cool, but no longer. One of the major reasons was, for those of you wondering why the terrace suites at the MGM no longer have jacuzzis on every single floor, is because they would have lots of water damage, and they would actually leak towards through them. and down to the bottom. So lots of, plumbing issues, if you will, or water damage issues. So they just kind of got rid of them, and they would break a lot. So they ended up not keeping those jacuzzis. But really great options if you want to have like a sexy, stay. Those are some really, really great options. I don't like to pick places that are too far off the strip, and I also don't like to pick places that, aren't, of that caliber, like Excalibur, Luxor. You're not really going there for a fun, cool like sexy getaway. You're going there, it's budget friendly, which is fine. Maybe you have kids, maybe you don't, but not really like sort of the vibes we're looking for. So moving on, I also like Caesar's Palace. Like Caesar's Palace, when you look out over either to the strip or you can look into the pool, kind of nice. So moving on from that, so let's talk about places to eat. That's one of the bigger things, is like places to eat that make it sort of sets the tone for the evening or sets the tone for the vacation. So I've said this many, many times. I think that Wakuda at the Palazzo is one of the sexiest restaurants in Las Vegas, just vibes. I think a lot of the stuff that is Japanese inspired in Las Vegas just feels so high end. It feels so, given with care. And Wakuda is no exception. It's also sushi, which people sometimes think sushi is delicious, it's aphrodisiac. Not me personally, but that's what people say. But Wakuda has that beautiful purple and white sort of tones. When you walk in, it's very dark, and then you get into the dining room and it has these big giant Buddhas, but it feels like a sweet, sexy spot. And that's just the main dining room. You can also go to their lounge area, which actually has a DJ booth, which is quite small. Don't think like big nightclub DJ, but it's a great place to go to have a conversation, to talk. It has these really cool paintings that are all hand penned. So all the paintings inside of their lounge at Wakuda are all hand drawn by an artist, and they're so, so cool. Like I would have them hanging like in my house, like if I could, because they're just so awesome. But love Wakuda. I think it's a great option. Can it be expensive? It could be, just depending on what things you get at Wakuda. But really high quality, menu items. Lots of sushi, but they also have lots of cooked items as well. They, I can't go over the names right now, but check out their menu. Love Wakuda as a great, start of the night sort of date spot, and then maybe late into the evening sort of, late night nightcap. So love it. So Wakuda. Obviously, I'm going to say Delilah's, guys. I think Delilah's is cool, like in general, just because it sort of feels like you're transported back to the 1960s Las Vegas. The food itself is fine. It is expensive. It is an expensive restaurant to go dine at, but also just like there's also sexy people around, and I feel like that's what gets the juices flowing. Like there is not an ugly person that works at Delilah's from top to bottom. I saw somebody, doing the trash the other day, and I was like, oh my God, they're like a model. So I think Delilah's, it definitely lives up to the hype of being one of the, more seductive rooms in Vegas. And it's a beautiful lounge. Love lounges, guys. I'm a big lounge guy, and I think that would be a fantastic place to go. Just sort of as we stay on that note, going over to like Fountain Blue. At Fountain Blue, they have the Collins Bar, which are all places I like to hang out at, but it's what it is. But Collins Bar has the piano player, which is really fantastic, every single day, Monday through Friday, and really, really nice cocktails. It's sort of like the right level in terms of loudness, where you're able to go and have a conversation, talk a little bit, feels kind of Vegas-y and the mood. And again, like it's just cocktails, get you going and get on to your next spot. So speaking of live music, I love live music as a place to be for these kind of things. So another really great choice that I would sort of rattle off would be, because I think the thing is with like sort of trying to impress somebody, I found that most people, like to either be surprised or have an adventure, especially when they come to Vegas or when they travel in general. So speakeasies, although I've given them sort of a hard time, are great for this, just because it's not a nightclub, which you don't have to, pay to go into, but they just serve as sort of a fun, like, hey, let's go find this thing together. So I always think trying to find speakeasy is actually a really fun activity to do if you're coming to Las Vegas. It feels adult. It feels like something that, Vegas has an abundance of, so you don't have to go searching as much as you used to. But I just think it's sort of a fun sort of scavenger hunt for you and your partner, or you and whoever's you're coming with. Or if you know about it and you meet somebody in Las Vegas, it's always fun to sort of reveal these secret places to them. So a really great option for this, again, is the Cosmopolitan, because they have so many speakeasies. I usually like taking people to Ghost Donkey just because it feels the most like a speakeasy, like it's hidden, because you're sort of walking through their like high-end food court, and then you get to the back and they're probably wondering, what am I doing back here? And then it's really great when no one opens the door for the Ghost Donkey, and then you're the one who gets to open the door and then sort of reveal this sort of closet space, honestly, of a bar, and it has the lights and the music, and every time I take somebody here, they light up and get super excited that they found this place, and they feel like they're part of a little club. So the only problem is that Ghost Donkey is quite small, so sometimes on busy nights, there's sometimes a line out the door, sometimes you can't find a seat on the inside, it's cramped, you're really only going to be there for like maybe 20 minutes, which honestly is great if you're trying to sort of end the evening and then get up, to the room to do whatever you're going to do. I think that's a really great place to, end up at, but not spend your whole night in, because if you're spending your whole night at Ghost Donkey, you're honestly just looking at the same couple of walls, but really like it on the inside. Another option I would recommend would be, I used to recommend Ski Lodge a lot, which is at the Cosmopolitan, but it gets really busy. Really important note for anybody trying to go to the Ski Lodge when you come to Las Vegas, and you've probably seen it on social media. A lot of Las Vegas influencers love mentioning that place. There is usually a line to get in, which off the top already sucks. Speakeasies should not have lines. If they have lines, it's fucking lame. That's just the way that I feel about it. And it's not centrally located like Ghost Donkey. Like if Ghost Donkey is full, you can go to like other bars and stuff and get connect to other places. Ski Lodge is all the way in the back of the Cosmopolitan, and if you get there and you end up deciding not wanting to go in, you have to walk your ass all the way back to the other part of the hotel to go outside to the Cosmopolitan, so on the Strip. So Ski Lodge is great. It's just a little too busy, which is somewhat of a bummer for me. One more speakeasy, I might mention a couple more here, that I'd recommend is and most people know where this place is, and it's Easy's Donuts, or Easy's Speakeasy, and this is located at the Aria Hotel. This speakeasy, you have to go up to the second floor. So second floor of the Aria, which is like towards the conference centers. So follow the signs of the conference center or restaurants where like Bardot and Carbone are. Also, it's going to have signs for like the food court, which is going to be, or their food hall. They're not food courts. Food courts are for poor people. Food hall is for fancy people. Honestly, guys, it's the exact same thing, just way more expensive. So once you get up to like where the food hall is, you're going to see on the outside area that there is a donut shop. And at the donut shop, most likely there's going to be a bouncer. You're like, why is there a bouncer at a donut shop? And then a hostess, which again, even more suspicious. The donut shop is probably also closed, so even 3 times suspicious. And that is where Easy Speakeasy is. Do I like Easy Speakeasy? No. Not at all. One of my least favorite speakeasies in Las Vegas. Why? It's just not my vibe. I'm not a big like yell at the stage and then they're going to play the music you want, which some people love that. I like for the performer to do what they are being paid to do, and that is perform whatever they want at their best ability. That is what I am there for. Also, at Easy's, which is another reason I don't like going there, is that they don't have any place to sit for a single person, which again, that's a single person problem. You're probably here with a couple. So if you are here with a couple or a group, they typically rent out tables, which they have a good amount of tables and couches to rent out. Another thing is that they only give you 90 minutes to sit at that table for, $400 or $500, maybe $300, just depending on the evening, which is also lame. So there's also a big giant pillar, like right in the middle of Speakeasy, because again, this was actually built way after what this was originally supposed to be. This whole area that I'm talking about, which is the food hall, is the old buffet for the Aria. So it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But I have to say, in terms of going someplace and having experience and place that, typically women really like, this is a good option, and that's Easy Speakeasy. So people like taking pictures, and it's also very dark, but also it gets really loud in there. So I know I've mentioned this, so I don't know, maybe skip it. Go to the other ones. Anyways, guys, so after me, shitting on Easy's, I wanted to really like Easy's, guys. Like I really wanted to, and I really wanted to put a good face on it, and I just can't. But let's go. Do I want to do one more spot? Let me think. Well, I guess I have sort of an obligation that I have to tell you guys about the new speakeasy on the Las Vegas Strip. So give me 1 second. So the new speakeasy on the Las Vegas Strip is Caspian's Rock and Row, I believe is the name of it. And this is located at Caesar's Palace. It is located where the old Cleopatra barge was. So if you're familiar with Caesar's Palace, they have a bunch of different sort of like little sort of veins that run away from the main casino. You have the main sort of artery, which is where you go by the sports book. But then to get to that part, if you're going through the main casino, they have two little walkways. One walk through is how you get to Nobu. The other one is how you get to like the Fat Tuesdays and sort of like the other place. It's my goodness, on the tip of my tongue. It's the steakhouse. But you get what I'm saying. So as you're walking towards Cleopatra's bar, you're going to see Caspian's, which has like a little bar in front that also has, a couple tables. But really what you're there for is the speakeasy on the inside, which is where there's going to be a big giant picture frame with a photo in it, obviously. And that's where you talk to the hostess and you say, I want to go in. And then you go they open up the picture frame. You go through the picture frame. And then there's a little old school phone. You pull down on the phone. And then the door opens, and that's how you go into Caspian's, which Caspian's is very loud if you go there when there's a band, which there always is. But it's rock. It's in the name. It's rock music. Cocktails are pretty good. Pretty good. Good little space. No seating for single people. This is definitely like a couples thing. I believe that they do have a spending minimum. Did not catch how much it was, but I would garner to guess. You're looking at $200 to $400 for, a couple seat, depending on the night, depending on, again, if it's 2 or 4 people. So the place is all right. It's new. So that's just something to keep note of. Also, guys, just like this whole thing about like caviar, like we gotta pull it back. I mean, too many caviar bars. Like having one is good. We don't need 7. Like they're not gonna all be different, but I'm moving away from my point. So one more thing, because we have to get a rooftop in. 2 rooftop places that I think are, have that sort of vuv of the zhuzh of a sexy space would be at the Resorts World. At Resorts World, they have Alea 66, which is on the 66th floor of the top of the hotel. You get a beautiful view of the Strip looking north and south, which is the Las Vegas Strip part that you want to see. And you can also go outside if you want, but really just sort of quiet space, really good place to talk. They have live music, which is nice, on the weekends. Great cocktails, but there's a really good rooftop. I recommend you go there for sunsets. It's really great at sunset time, just because you can see the Sierra Mountains off to the west, and when the sun comes down just right, it is a really beautiful space. So it's Alea 66, and we also have the Legacy Club, which is downtown. So if you are downtown, Legacy Club is a great place to go. Really classes up, Circa. Although Circa is a very nice property, it can be kind of bro-y sometimes, but I think having places like Vegas Vicky, Legacy Club, and Barry's really make it and elevate it to the elegant part of being downtown. So those are the bars, which bars are important, but sometimes you got to go to a show or dinner, which we'll talk about. I did start talking about dinner, but then I just sort of weaned off of my Wakuta track, but you get the picture. SW is really good, by the way. So I take it back. SW is serviceable, but it does feel like a fancy restaurant. Like, I would say that's more of like a romantic vibe more than a sexy vibe. So, speaking of sexy, let's talk about some of the sexy shows in town, because I love me a sexy show. I saw Zumanity at least 6 times. Why? Because 1, it was really cheap and really easy to get good seats, and there was nudity, which is fun, which I think we need more of that in our Las Vegas shows. Just personal opinion. But we no longer have Zumanity, unfortunately, is now the Mad Hatter show, or was it Mad Apple show? But if you still want to see shows with a little bit of sex appeal, highly recommend Absinthe. Absinthe is probably the best of all the Spiegel World, shows. They have, I think, 3 or 4 shows now in Las Vegas. They also own a big giant town outside of the city. But overall, I do think Absinthe is the best show for couples and sexy time because it doesn't get super vulgar or disgusting, which these shows tend to do sometimes at their other properties. For example, the one that is over at the Palazzo, which is called Atomic Saloon, can veer off and get a little bit, a little childish to me. And it also, I believe, does not have nudity in that show. So, not that nudity is like a prerequisite of sexy, but like it helps when you're in Vegas doing those kind of things. So anyways, so going back to Absinthe, it feels like an adult circus show, which is exactly what you want. It is not Cirque du Soleil. They're very anti-Cirque there, but they all do these really, really cool acts. They also have like this girl who's dancing in like a gorilla outfit, and you're like, oh, just a gorilla dancing, really sexy. And then she starts sort of stripping out of the gorilla costume and reveals this beautiful woman behind the mask. And I just think it's really, really fun to sort of experience those things with other people. Also, it sort of breaks down barriers just because you have the gazillionaire who interacts with the crowd and sort of diffuses a lot of tension, where he'll talk about people who are on a date. He'll talk about if you guys are up towards the front, like, oh, you guys on a date? And he'll sort of just comment on it. And it feels like you're sort of breaking down the walls of defenses you might build up. So I think it's really fun and funny to go do and experience these things. And I think it's just fun to show fun sides of yourself, that you can be, open to these kind of things and that you're not uptight. So I think Absinthe is a fantastic choice for like a sexy getaway, to be a show that you want to see, because it sort of diffuses a lot of tension sort of in the room. If you wanted sort of like more of a straight Vegas burlesque show, because really Absinthe is not a burlesque show. It just has some nudity in it and sexiness. But it's really much more of a comedy adult show, and acrobatics, of course. So moving on, Fantasy is actually really good. Fantasy is one of our oldest topless reviews, is a topless show. It sort of goes through all these different quote-unquote fantasies, which the girls are great. They do really great, group dances. The theater itself is pretty small, so there's really not a bad seat in the house. It's really funny that they call the people who sit in the very front row the pervert row, because you are up close and personal to the stage. But overall, it is a really fun show. You can meet and greet with the performers after. Usually 1 or 2 performers is out there taking pictures. Really, really good dancing, but also just beautiful women. They also do really cool different acts. So I actually saw one do a silk rope routine, which is really, really cool to see. So I really liked it. I went and saw I saw Fantasy, I think once or twice, and had a really good time with my friends. It's also really good for like bachelorettes, because some bachelorettes like to see that type of show when they're in Vegas, because it feels a little less intimidating than like an actual strip club. And that's kind of what the point of topless reviews are, where you can get that sort of adult flavor, but without having to go to a really high intensity like strip club. So Fantasy, really fantastic. Another really good show, which if you want to combine men and women, is the, I believe, Rouge show, it's called Rouge. It's just called Rouge. And this is at the Stratosphere Hotel. And I haven't personally seen the show, but I've had many people who've gone to the show and really, really enjoyed it. It's one of the newer, adult review shows. It's sort of supposed to turn up the heat. And again, it does have men and women, which can be beneficial, for both parties, which is nice. And they say the dancers are really fantastic. Also, Flamingo has a couple different topless reviews. They have Country X, Rock X, and I think one more show that are all different style of topless shows. And then also, probably one of the more marquee topless review shows is Von Teese. I always forget her first name, and I should have wrote it down. And I don't know if it's Kathy Von Teese, or if you guys give me one moment, great podcasting. I just have to look it up for a second. Kathy Von Teese. But this is located at the Horseshoe Hotel. Had to think about it for a second. No, sorry. This is located at the Palazzo Hotel inside of one of their theaters. Dita Von Teese, that is her name. Also, did you guys know that Dita Von Teese is like 60 years old or 50 years old? She's 52. She's 52 years old. She is known as the Queen of Burlesque. But it is a very large show, very throwback to what it was when like Jubilee was here. And again, it is topless, so keep that in mind. It is only for adults. This is only an adult podcast. But theater itself, old school theater, which is quite nice. But that's over at the Venetian. You got to check your local listings. That feels like a local TV show. When she is performing, because she is not performing every single night, but she performs sort of weeks at a time. So that would be for that show. If you want to do sort of sexy light, I always enjoy the Vegas, the show, which is always kind of, cheesy to some people. But they do have really fantastic dancers in that. But if you don't want to go full topless, but you want sort of that Vegas flair, I honestly think Vegas, the show, just sort of feels, Vegas-y to me. So it might feel a little nichey, but it's sort of like for those of you who think, going to Disneyland is spicy, this is sort of just the next level spice. It's like Thai spicy. But I don't know. I really like Vegas, the show, so I'd like to recommend it anytime I can because I think we need as many musicals as we can in this town. So for those that just want a regular Vegas talk, that's that. But there are some people, which I've had this happen before, where we do have people who swing and people who are in open relationships or non-monogamous relationships, and they want to meet other people who are like that. So if you want to hear more about that, stay tuned in because we're going to talk about it now. I actually just want to share a story of how this happened one time. So I actually was working at MGM at the time, and when I was sitting, we used to have our concierge desk had 3 people on one side and 3 people on the other side, so we had 6 people total. I was at one of the middle computers, which is honestly like one of the worst computers to have because you are squeezed in between 2 other people. So I had this couple walk up to me, very good looking couple. They had to be like 38 and 40, something around there, or 35 and 38, something sort of in that 30-year range. Which is cool. When I think I was maybe only like maybe 25 or 26, so they were, to me, so much older. But anyways, very good looking couple, blonde woman, blonde gentleman, both in shape, walked up to me and they're like, yeah, we're looking for like some clubs where we can meet, other couples. And I, being the absolutely oblivious person that I was like, oh yeah, well we have, Hakkasan and we have, other nightclubs like Omnia. Those are good places to meet other people. They said, no, we went to Hakkasan last night, but we want to meet, other couples, like us. And I was like, I audibly said, oh, got it. So I was like, I gotcha. So then a really fun thing about being a concierge in a hotel is that usually when you work in hotels, they have restrictions on things that you can like look up. I didn't have those restrictions, so I was Googling away, which I did know one place because I used to work before that job, I used to work at Big Bus Tours, which is a tour guide company, and you talk to bus drivers for a long period of time, almost 10 hours a day, and a lot of them used to be truck drivers, which truck drivers always know places to go, and you always get sort of the details on that. And we always used to pass this one place called the Green Door. So the Green Door is quite infamous in the city of Las Vegas, which I don't know if they have like other ones in other cities, but the Green Door is an adult club, if you know what I mean. They do not take alcohol in there because of these reasons. So I was on their website because that's what I had to do as a concierge. And it is interesting in there. You do have to pay a cover charge to get into the Green Door. So if you are male, I believe I'm doing this all, by the way, on the fly. I haven't looked this up in years, but I believe the Green Door, it costs like $75 on a weekday and $100 on a weekend if you're a single guy to go in. If you're a couple, I think it ends up being like $100, but for two people. So I think it actually might be cheaper than that. But I think it's like 75 to 100 for couples. And I think if you're a single woman, I think it is free, obviously. So they also have multiple rooms inside of this place that I did not know about. But that is available on Sahara Avenue, which is definitely an Uber ride. It is in one of the sketchiest, oldest parts of like Vegas, but it's also like very historic. I found out that little space. It's actually where Lotus of Siam, the original location, was. So you actually had to brave all of this stuff to get your fantastic Vietnamese food. Was at Lotus of Siam, and then they also had a fur store there, which I don't think they actually did fur dry cleaning when I was working. It just had a cool sign. I also found out because we have a lot of, when you're working as a concierge, you actually find that a lot of men who work in concierge are also gay. So I had a lot of gay coworkers and friends. So then they told me that other than the Green Door, there were also two other gay meetup clubs in that space. One of them was called Entourage, which that was like a spa, I believe. That was like a male spa. And then there was another place on the other corner right next to the Green Door, which was a gym, which the gym also had, saunas. So the saunas heavily used, from what I was told, and no one was ever working out there. So they said the workout equipment, super clean. So that is what happens at that little sort of corner where the Green Door is. So for those of you listening that might be into the lifestyle, as it is called, that is where you can meet other singles or other couples. I've been told that you want to go later in the evening is when you get, a lot more people. During the daytime is obviously closed. But I've heard it's also, they say, a lot of single men that end up going to the Green Door. So it's sort of like, I feel like this type of situation is sort of fishing. You're sort of fishing and hopefully you find something good when you get there. But it is what it is. I believe there's also another place in town called, and I don't know if this one's like super legal, but it's a podcast. If I get caught, that means someone's listening. It's called The Studios, which the studios I think are a rented space. You have to, that either somebody rents or whatever, and you find it out. But honestly, the thing is with being in the new age is that you can Google a lot of these things and you can find them. There was also another one. This is more of just a story, not really sort of a wreck. But I had a friend who worked at the Foundation Room, which is the top bar at the Mandalay Bay. And I believe, and you can go up there. You can actually like pay tickets, go up there. They do dinner, and they also do like a nightclub later in the evening. I don't like Foundation Room. I think the Skyfall Lounge is way better, but the Foundation Room is lots of like ornate things on the inside, and they also have like carpet, which is kind of weird for like a club, but they also have a restaurant, which is like sometimes open and sometimes not. Really weird. But so my friend was working there, and she's like, yeah, once a month, once a month there is a private party that goes up there, and it is a swingers party where they have to have wristbands and they have to scan in to get up there, and that's once a month that they have. And I think it used to be called the Red Rooster, but not sure if that's what it's actually called anymore. But those were held once a month, I think, on like Sundays, or like maybe like a Sunday, or like something like that, a Monday. And that's where they would have a meetup. And I don't know what happened up there. I think that's just where you met people, but that was another option. It was really funny that 1923, or 1929, a speakeasy at Mandalay Bay was supposedly like a meetup spot for lots of, people in the lifestyle, but didn't get that vibe when I went there one time. Like I tried it because it's supposed to be a speakeasy, and it was like not as cool as you thought it was going to be. It was fine, but yeah. So now you know. So I just thought that would be really fun to explain. Also, other places where I've seen, couples like this is at Delilah's. Delilah's, I've seen a lot of gentlemen who were older, who was with his older wife. They were about the same age. They were probably in their, late 60s, early 70s. And we're talking to a woman who was probably in her 30s. And it was definitely one of those situations. But sometimes they are just working girls, and sometimes, hey, working girls gotta, make money. So that was interesting. So anyways, those are all of my swinger stories. But Vegas, I don't know how good it is for swingers. I think you can check out a lot like on apps if you want to find other, people looking. Good for you. Good luck. I haven't heard that it's very successful, but I think people do. But those are my recommendations. Take them as you want. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I think it was sort of a peering into kind of, the things I think are, sexy in Las Vegas. But I just want to go back to the message that I got here. So let's see here. Oh, he wanted to know European pools. That's such a good question. That's why I did. This is the only thing I did research on because I didn't know anything off the top of my head. I'm sorry if you guys have waited to the end of the episode to figure out about the European pool situation. So me and my dad actually have gone to a European pool, which again, I know sounds weird, but that's a very like normal, father-son thing to do in Vegas, I guess. Like I even went, and this is, again, we're adults. And it was funny because my mom dropped us off. It was really hilarious. Just absolutely. Also, guys, not that my parents are bad parents, but we were supposed to go see a show one time. This was a long time ago. I think I had to be 19. I was 18 or 19 at the time. Of course I did because it was topless. So we ended up going to. I was a tour guide at least for a little while, and I was I still can't believe I went to this thing. So we were supposed to go to one show. We ended up not going to that show. My parents were like, we're going to go see Jubilee instead. So I was like, cool. We'll go see Jubilee. I think I've heard of that show. And we get in. And it's, the girls with the big headdresses and, the jewels. It was that. And it was also the adult version of Jubilee, which meant topless showgirls just dancing everywhere. And I was watching this with my mom and my dad, which was a very interesting experience. And it's funny because the thing is when you're watching a topless show, you sometimes forget, you're like, oh, they're topless. You kind of get over it after the first 15 minutes. And I'm talking from a guy's perspective. I know ladies, you do your thing. But what was funny about the show is that we were had pretty good seats. And then there was these two businessmen in front of us from the Far East, if you know what I mean. And they had a woman sitting with them, and they had to be, in their 50s or 60s. And this woman was probably in her 20s who didn't look like she wanted to be at the show. And she's just there. She's there watching the show with these guys. And literally 15 minutes before the show was supposed to end, she just got up and left. Just got up and walked away, which I'm assuming the meter ran out. That's all it was. That meter ran out, done. It made zero, and I just always vividly remember that woman would go up and go to the bathroom, come back, and then at one point she never came back. So I always thought that was funny. So yeah, European pools. So we ended up going for that time. We went to Bear, which was at the Mirage at the time, which is no longer there because the Mirage is no longer open either. We also don't have that many European pools open anymore, unfortunately. So I believe Maria was a topless pool or is a topless pool. I heard rumblings that they were changing it where they weren't going to be topless anymore. So I would just, if you are coming to Vegas, because it sort of happened over this winter time, check online, call ahead, and ask if they're still doing options at Maria. It is definitely an adult-only pool, especially when it comes to summertime, because I know in the wintertime, because it's heated, they allow families to go there. So just double check Marea at the Mandalay Bay, and it is separate from, it's in the pool complex, sort of next to it, but you do have to pay to go in. Usually men have to pay, I believe, $35 to $50, depending on the time of day, and then women is obviously free. Most of the time. So that would be Marea. The other option, which this is only available to guests at the Wynn and Encore properties, is they have, quietly, a European-style pool. And it's important to note for these European-style pools, they are not like party pools. They used to be, but most of them tend to be, especially at the Wynn and the Encore, a little bit more relaxed. It's sort of just supposed to be a place where European guests or, South American, whatever, whoever, honestly, it actually doesn't matter, but that we call them European because of the style, I guess. I don't know the words I'm saying, but the European means topless, just for everybody who's still wondering why I'm saying European. But they call it a European style pool, and that is available at the Wynn and Encore properties. But you do have to be staying at the Wynn and Encore to partake in the European style pool. Another place that I know is going to be topless because it is connected to a strip club is the Sapphire Pool. The Sapphire Pool is the only strip club with a pool area, and does still do topless options for the workers and the people visiting. Again, don't know how many women that are, civilian women, non-dancers, will be working there. But that is an option if you wanted to go. They typically have, that's more of like a party pool. Like they'll have a DJ, and it is off the strip. But if you're looking specifically for a topless pool and a place to hang out in that way, can't be a terrible option. It's pretty good space. I've seen pictures of the outside. I've actually walked on the outside. I've never been to the Sapphire Pool, but I've heard it's not bad. And again, pricing is going to be similar to what you would pay for a day club in Vegas. So, maybe a spending minimum for a booth or a table or even a lounger. Just kind of depends how it is. So that's interesting. I had a really good time one time. So I was at Marquee. This is sort of related. And I was playing blackjack with my friend. And obviously I was young, and they had a really beautiful blackjack dealer standing in front of me. She's dealing. And I was like, oh yeah, like I might go to Bear with my dad, or, I might go to Bear, on Thursday, on whatever day it was. And she's, yeah, I'm actually going to go there after work. And I was like, oh my God, I love this city. So that's when I was like, man, people just be out here, just taking their tops off. It's crazy. By the way, a little tip, if you ever do go to a topless pool, you want to go later in the day, because that's when the alcohol kicks in and that's when the tops come off. So just so you know, that is when it happens. So enjoy it while you can, because I don't know if these are coming back. Although, the thing is so I'm a millennial. I'm 32. And I think, my generation kind of prudes. Really, weren't into, I've watched a lot of movies. If you ever listen to me on VSiN talking about film. And my generation really doesn't like nudity, I guess. So you didn't see a lot of our movies. A lot of people from Generation X and stuff were like, no, you guys suck. This new generation, though, this Gen Y or whatever the generation after me, very liberal with just being on red carpets showing boobs. So I don't know, maybe Boob Vegas is coming back. Who knows? But either way, hopefully you guys liked the episode. I finally got to the European pool situation, which was the only thing that I really had to research because it's changing. But other than that, thank you so much for listening, everybody. Really appreciate you guys checking out the Instagram page, ConciergeConfidential_LV, TikTok at Keys to Vegas, and then, of course, my personal page, Brian_Ortega26, for everything else that I got going on. So, again, thank you so much for everybody for listening to the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you see me out in town at one of my 2 or 3 favorite spots, sure, come on. Come say hello. Remember, keep it confidential.